Here. Mrs. Boroff? Here. Mrs. Kennedy? Here. Mrs. Mitchell? Here. Mrs. Soriani? Here. Mrs. Williams? Here. Mrs. Winkler? Here. Mr. Murray?
Here.
Dr. Kulikowski?
Here.
Quorum is present.
Thank you, Mrs. Saragaki. At this time, I'd like to have Ms. Kathy Mantell of the Spfboe and Company Incorporated review the annual report for the 2018-2019 year. Please come forward.
Good evening, everybody. Good morning, good evening, members of the board. Happy to be here to talk about the audit, and I will be brief because there's a lot of excitement in the room, and we don't want to bore everyone with financial numbers, but they're pretty exciting. And so just had a meeting with the Finance Committee to explain the finances. And so the district's fund balance is down a little bit over the course of the year, but I said you always have to look at what components are down, and so the open purchase orders at the end of the year can vary according to whether you have projects going on in the summer. So really that was the biggest driver for the decrease in the fund balance, and it's not an area of any kind of concern, and it doesn't affect the overall operations. And then the district, we explained how the district fared over the course of the year with revenues came in a little bit over what was budgeted, and the way that the district is able to regenerate the monies that they use in the budget. The fund balance is from unexpended budget appropriations. We talked about the fact that that number is smaller than it had been in the past. It's shrinking a little bit. Not an area of concern, but certainly a point where it will be reevaluated in terms of how to keep the finances as strong as they have been. In doing so, there were deposits to capital reserve. At the end of the year, there was $5.6 million in capital reserve, and that's money that the board has at their discretion to make capital improvements. Again, I remind the board every year that your restriction of the 2% increase on spending limits what you can do as far as capital, so being able to achieve savings during the year and deposit them into the capital reserve enables you to do projects that you need to do. Maintenance reserve, you budgeted money during the year, and so that decreased a little bit. It went from 2.3 million down to 1.6 or almost 1.7 million. But very strong fiscally, no areas of alarm. We just talked about the fact that, you know, in the economy and with everything that you're doing every year, it just gets a little bit harder to achieve the great results that you've had. Capital Projects Fund is almost closed out. There were 2 projects in there. Those are long-term projects, and they will probably end over the next year or 2. And then there are long-term liabilities that are reported in the district's audit, and it's long-term bonds from capital projects that you've done in the past, capital leases that you issue, compensated absences for employees, bond issuance premiums on those bonds, and then in the last 5 years there have been liabilities reported for pension and post-retirement benefits. And those were new accounting standards, and the numbers look big and staggering, but I explain every year that those are very long-term liabilities for everybody associated with the school district. The pension and post-retirement benefits that they would draw over the estimated lives of their estimated lives. So it's extremely long-term liability, nothing of concern. And then during the year, this was the last fiscal year, was June 30th, 19 ending. The district did not participate in the National School Lunch Program. Revenues were up $288,000. Non-operating revenue, which is the federal and state subsidies, were down $344,000, so that's almost a $60-something thousand decrease in revenue, but the operating expenses were down $65,000 as well. So the overall operating net position was only down $4,000. Usually when it's a year of transition, that's really a good result for the first year where you transitioned over. Last year, you had 1 audit recommendation relating to travel expense detail documentation that was resolved during the year, and we have no audit recommendations for the current year. So, as I expressed the finance, you have a very, very conscientious staff, and you achieve very great results. So I commend everybody from the board down, Tony at the top, down to administration for achieving those results. So if anybody has any questions of me, I'd be happy to answer them.
As exciting as the budget and the audit is, I am very happy to say at this moment that we are going to celebrate our marching band and our color guard. If you have the opportunity to see them on the field as they start in the summer, as the season goes, when you see them at the competitions in October, the growth is notable, amazing, and certainly reflects hard work that rivals any of our well-performed athletic teams. So I am very proud to ask Duran Thomas to come up, as well as Jackie Tumalo, to invite your students to follow you and tell us a little bit about the season.
How we doing? We're so anxious back there, just like at rehearsal, right? So, if you came to hear a regular board meeting and that's actually not happened, I can just say I'm sorry. Not sorry. We have a little bit more energy than that. So, I'm actually not going to talk first just because they are so sick and tired of hearing me, but I will start off by saying all the folks that work in this building throughout the summer, we apologize for that journey. It took us a little bit to get to where we wound up in November, but I can't tell you how proud I am of each and every one of these students and my staff. I'm going to ask Mr. Gillett to come on up here too. It was a great season, and in 24 years' time, I can tell you this is Mr. Gillett. Come on up. He's never shy. When I first got here at Scotch Plains, this was more of the style, they don't know this, but this was more of the style that we had every year with Mr. Tutoriello. It was a Latin, it was a jazz variety. We kind of drifted off from that and we kind of made our own staple, and we wanted to do things a little bit differently, and I think we achieved that along the way. Though these students have only been here for 4, 3, 2, or 1 year, certainly we have had our own original shows, and certainly shows that we're quite proud of, and shows that were, let's say, maybe not as on point as we'd like them to be. But I think every year is a learning experience, and I think this was no different. And as I say, I couldn't be more proud. So thank you, students, for your blood, sweat, and tears. Board of Education and all the folks that work here, thank you for putting up with that and all the Advil that you needed throughout the journey. But we're so proud. And guys, I love you guys, and it was a great year. So thank you. Thank you. Turn it over to Jackie right now, and then Mr. Gillett.
So first, I just want to thank Dr. Mast and the entire board for inviting us here. You know, when we go to the drawing board as a design team, our hope every single year is to pick a show that the kids are going to buy into, that the audience is going to buy into. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But when we walked through the hallway, second day of band camp during lunch, and the kids were singing the music, we knew that they were just as hooked as we were. This season has been nothing short of amazing, inspirational, motivational. I mean, these kids have worked so hard from day one. And we don't always have a season where every single week it progressively gets better. Usually there's a little bit of a plateau, or there's one run through that's not as strong as the other. But this year, they just kept getting better. And that, as we say all the time, has nothing to do with us. It was all them. It was all their heart and all of their, as Mr. Thomas said, blood, sweat, and tears, and they just bought into the show and they made it something of their own, and that was incredibly special. My senior year here was also Latin jazz, so this year was really, really special to me, and I realized that, I think I said to the kids, I realized that the morning of nationals, I was like, no wonder why I love this show so much. I'm thinking back to when I was a senior, but it was just that much more special to be able to share this journey with them and with the rest of the staff. So thank you everybody again, but mostly thank you guys.
It truly is a joy and a wonder to watch these students grow from learning the basics and fundamentals of musicianship and movement to putting on a show that is at the highest levels of the marching arts. To say that their growth, and I'm going to echo the staff all the time on this, to watch their growth was nothing short of absolutely spectacular. They absolutely, every rehearsal, tried their best to be the best that they could possibly become. Every performance was the same. They did their best to become the best, and they are a special group of children. It was a pleasure being here. I know as a staff member and a staff member in the district, the buzz down below at the middle school level is really high based on what these fine students offered our township, and they offered the world of marching arts. And I'm so proud to be a part of that, and I'm so proud for their efforts this year. You guys are awesome, did a great job. Thank you so much.
Kwiatkowski is going to come up and read the resolution, and the students come up to join us.
Drum majors, line them up by section, please.
Oh boy.
Quiet, please, thank you. Over to your left. Over to your left. Color guard, come up first, please, up down the side here, to your left, on the wall. Percussion next. Woodwinds and brass, let's go. I also want to give a special shout out to my three wonderful rookie drum majors, please. Let's guys give them a big round of applause. Put them down if you can, guys. That's good. Sorry, it's okay. Don't go too far. Please end.
Whereas the 2019-2020 Scotch Plains Fanwood High School Marching Band has achieved remarkable success in the stands and on the field throughout the 2019 fall season. The Raider Marching Band are proud of accomplishments of the season in which they earned the top 3 placement in every competition this season. And whereas the 2019-2020 Scotch Plains Fanwood High School Raider Marching Band placed first in the 3 of the 7 competitions for the 2019 season, winning a visual caption award in every competition for all 7 competitions. Whereas on Wednesday, October 30th, the Scotch Plains Fanwood High School Raider Marching Band earned a silver medal in the U.S. Bands New Jersey Group 6A Championship with a score of 87.37, earning the award for the best visual and earning the prestigious Cadets Esprit de Corps Award of Excellence in the recognition of creativity, performance, and overall effect. And whereas on Saturday, November 2nd, the Scotch Plains Fanwood High School Raider Marching Band earned a bronze medal in the U.S. Band's National Group 6A Championship with a score of 92.46, winning the caption Visual Effect. Whereas the 2019-2020 Scotch Plains Fanwood High School Raider Marching Band exhibited outstanding talent, dedication, and teamwork throughout the season, was led by Band Director Mr. Duran Thomas, Assistant Director Mr. John Gillick Jr., Color Guard Director Ms. Jackie Tomolo, Assistant Directors Jackie Close and Katie Worsterlund, and volunteers Christabella Fortuna, Tracy Prusik, and Alan Romero. This team received the well-deserved recognition from fellow students, staff, and the Scotch Plains Fanwood communities for their outstanding efforts and accomplishments. Now therefore be it resolved that the Scotch Plains Fanwood Board of Education recognizes and congratulates the 2019-2020 Scotch Plains Fanwood High School Raider Marching Band and their coaches for their outstanding achievements and wishes them all continued success in all their future endeavors. Congratulations. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
So now I'd like to invite the students and families to enjoy some refreshments, and we are going to continue our board meeting. Not to spoil your cookies, we're going to move back to the large boardroom.
We're going to go into adjournment at this time.
Okay, we're going to go back into public. Good evening. We've already opened our meeting in the multipurpose room so that we could recognize the members of the marching band and the color guard, as well as the annual audit review by Ms. Kathy Mantell from Spfboe and Company Incorporated. In our executive session this evening, we discussed the personnel agenda, the HIB report, legal status report, and the suspension and detention report. We have some additions to the agenda today: 2 LET, 3 LET, 4 S, and 2 BUS. The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Scotch Plains Fanwood Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted at the Board of Education offices located at 512 Cedar Street, Scotch Plains, New Jersey. Such notice was provided in written notice and forwarded to the Star Ledger, the Times, the Township Clerk of Scotch Plains, the Borough Clerk of Fanwood, and the revised annual notice of regularly scheduled meetings adopted on August 29, 2019. In accordance with the Scotch Plains Fanwood Public Schools Bylaws 0164 and 0165, the meeting will be open for 15 minutes for public comments, maximum of 3 minutes per speaker. Speakers addressing the superintendent items, business functions, and other board business will be heard first. If time remains, speakers may address other matters. When you approach the podium, please clearly state your name and give your address in the town if you reside. Seeing no one coming to the podium, there'll be another opportunity for public comment later in the meeting. At this time, I'd like to move to committee reports.
I think they want to speak.
Does anybody have a committee report?
I do.
Yes, Ms. Winkler.
We had a shared services meeting this morning. On the agenda was the Police Athletic League Cops and Kids program. Chief Conley reported that this program is going to get started November 22nd and January 17th at Park Middle School, and December 20th and February 7th at Terrell. What else? We discussed in the past few years we've done computer training for senior citizens. This program is being put on hold this year to take time to determine the demand for such a program and to assess other factors. What else? The mayors from both municipalities met last month with Dr. Mast, with Debbie Saradaki, and board representatives to discuss the school budget and the possibility of moving the Board of Education elections back to April instead of November. It was agreed that it was best to keep the elections in November, that the board would work more closely with the municipalities when crafting the budget. And this group will meet again in January and go over how our budget is coming together, how it's constructed. Of note, 4 projects on our horizon that are currently in the draft budget for 2020-21 are repairs to the masonry at Park Middle School, stabilizing the gym floor at Brunner, which is settling, updating the foods classroom at the high school, and installing lights on our football and soccer fields. These projects would be paid for with funds from our capital reserve account. Both of the mayors from the 2 municipalities were eager to support the plan for installing lighting on the fields for several reasons, including that the technology for the lighting fixtures themselves has advanced so that it directs light only onto the fields and not toward the surrounding neighborhoods, and also that having these fields lit will extend the hours that we can use these fields for all sorts of events, including sports games and marching band performances and other community events, which could really help to create more of a community hub there. We got a full description of a program that Scotch Plains has been looking into with the Trex company, which makes synthetic deck construction materials. They're looking at a program where they are collecting plastic bags, and for every 500 pounds of plastic bags collected, they will donate a bench made of recycled plastic bags. And so Scotch Plains is looking to do this program. The hope is that Fanwood and the school district will go into it as well, and that we can remove all of this single-use plastic from our waste stream, help bring to attention the amount of plastic that we're using and discarding, and at the same time get benches donated to be put in downtown Scotch Plains and downtown Fanwood, and perhaps at the schools, depending on how much we actually collect. So some of the details still need to be hashed out about that, but it is something that we're in discussion about. And we are looking for a resolution from each of the three entities to support this project. Also, there was a grant we'd received from the county. The three entities working together received a grant from the county for upgrades to the field behind Terrell Middle School. At the time when we applied for the grant, there was the potential we were looking to do quite a bit of work back there. In the end, it was decided to limit the work to doing some fixing of the drainage issues there and resurfacing, so there'd be a flat and level field for use out there. So there, as such, there are funds still left from that grant, and we need to return them to the county. So the county will have them available for future grants. What else? It was noted that Eleanor McGovern, who's been serving as Fanwood Borough's administrator and the borough clerk for about 38 years now, will be retiring at the end of this calendar year. She's been serving on the Shared Services Committee since its inception. I think that's going to be a loss to that committee because she has the long memory and the notes and everything from over the years. And I'm sorry to see her go, but she's my neighbor across the street, so I will see her anyway, which pleases me. Also, we were asked about I'm sorry, I just lost my sentence there. I lost that one. Forget it. But recommended actions are adopting a resolution to support the Trex Bin plastic bag recycling program and agreeing to release the remaining funds from the county grant back to the county.
Thank you, Mrs. Winkler.
Can I just expand a little bit on the meeting that was had with the both municipalities and the board administration, Dr. Mast and Debbie Saradaki, and myself and Deb Brody attended that meeting, and I just want to make sure that, the meeting was fantastic from my perspective. I think it really emphasized, I know we're meeting in January, but what we agreed to do is meet more regularly between the municipalities and the board and be more transparent and collaborative within the whole planning process across the board. So budgeting and capital projects and really making sure that we're communicating more effectively amongst the three entities so that the community is involved and understands kind of where the spend is happening and is more involved in understanding what's really happening, because typically we don't get a lot of attention at the meetings. People don't usually show up and understand really what's going on until there's something that's going on that people want to talk about. So, but I think that process and that meeting, we spent a lot of time with both mayors, town manager. Dan was there from the firm.
Busy professional.
Correct. And it was a really good meeting. I think we really accomplished a lot and really felt good about it. And I think the more frequent meetings we have will continue to strengthen that relationship and the collaboration between all three entities. So I just wanted to make sure I added that because it was an important, I think, meeting for us to have with everything that's going on, both with downtown redevelopment, with changing of some of the guard over in Fanwood from that perspective, and some of the things that we have planned for the future of this district. I think it's important to note how well that meeting really went. So,
Well, I'm glad to hear you say that it was collaborative, because I think it's important for the two-way conversation to take place, because obviously sidewalks and things like that are important to us, even though they're not in our budget. So,
yeah, we talked about all of that. So, the goal was to make sure that, at the end of the day, the common goal is the community and everybody involved in the community. So it was more of a, not a one-sided conversation or one-sided decision. Both municipalities as well as Dr. Mast, all agreed that the transparency and collaboration is the utmost importance, and agreed going forward the more frequent meetings we have, which I think we agreed to at least a minimum quarterly, I think at this point for now, to talk through the process. So it was very productive.
That's great. One point I'm not sure if I made that I know I intended to is that the projects I talked about, the masonry at Park and the gym at Evergreen and the lighting on the field and
Brunner.
At Brunner,
The
right?
gym at Brunner.
And I forget the fourth one off the top of my head, but the projects that I listed The funding for that would come out of capital reserve. I'm not sure if I stated
You
that.
did.
I meant to. Okay.
Yes. Thank you, Mrs. Winkler. Any other reports this evening? Mrs. Bauer?
Yes, I think everyone received my report about the Personnel Committee, and our HR and BA folks presented a recommendation. We really need more substitutes than we have, so we'll make a general plea for substitutes. But one of the things that is on the agenda tonight is to approve trying out a service swing education who will help provide us with coverage for substitutes for teachers and aides. Additional coverage.
Thank you, Mrs. Bauer. And other reports? Mrs.
Yes,
Sariani?
I have a report from the Curriculum Committee that met on Monday, November 11th. There were 3 things on our agenda. The first was adding a new environmental science course at the high school. The district now offers AP Environmental Science, and this would expand the offerings to environmental science at academic and accelerated levels. The new course would give students more and equal options to environmental science, which is in line with the New Jersey SLA science standards, which include life science, physical science, earth and space science, and engineering. The course would take a more current events approach than textbook approach to learning, and this course would be able to satisfy the third science course for the graduation requirement, which now students take physics. This would give them an alternative option. And this wouldn't affect any of the science courses that are currently offered as electives, which is zoology, anatomy, physiology, forensics, nutrition, biology 2, chemistry 2, and physics 2 would still be offered as electives, but environmental science would satisfy the graduation requirement. And once the board is being asked to approve this additional course tonight. Once the approval is received, a committee of students and parents will help staff develop a curriculum moving forward. The second agenda item is Mrs. Rabimbas came with one of our district's LDTCs, Dr. Mildred Wally, and talked about the New Jersey Autism Study. New Jersey Autism Study being conducted, and data is being requested from our district as well as surrounding counties and districts, and we're being requested to provide child study team files, which include academic and medical data for certain of our youth. The study is targeting youth born in 2002, 2010, and 2014, and all personal identifying information is removed, and the data is held with the strictest conditions of anonymity and confidentiality. And again, this is a bona fide research study just to determine the prevalence of autism in New Jersey. So what the district is going to do is send parents a letter describing, parents of kids who meet this criteria, send them a letter describing what will happen with the data and the confidentiality standards, and reassuring them that the decision to participate has no bearing on their children's services, and then parents are given the opportunity to choose whether to opt out if they're not comfortable with sharing the children's data. Okay, and the third kind of exciting agenda item is the rollout of the new elementary report cards for grades 1 through 4, which we also talked about last year, but they will be the first new report card will come out in December. But Erin Mullman, the elementary supervisor, provided an update on the debut of the report card and gave us kind of an overview on what the changes are to the report card, what has stayed the same. This has been a long process putting this new report card together. Supervisors, elementary teachers worked over the summer to put together the new report card, which remains a standards-based format. There are still the standards, and then indicators are still listed underneath each standard for measurement. The same scoring applies where it's 4 to 1 for academic areas, and then the CUSI consistently usually
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
And infrequently.
Infrequently. And there's still a comment section, and there's still a companion rubric to go along with the report card. Changes were that the report card now will be on a trimester schedule instead of a quarterly schedule. And the reason for this is that the standards-based report is typically designed for trimesters because teachers have more time at the beginning of the year to collect information about student progress, to give a more reflective assessment of how the students are doing. And let's see, the changes also reflect updated curriculum standards. And some of the indicators have changed based on changes in the new Writers Workshop program and updated science and engineering practices. There's also an expanded scoring key on top. There was always a scoring key on top that's set, but now I guess parents had questions about what does it mean when you exceed, what does progressing really mean? So they kind of went into more detail in a key on the top of the report card to explain what some of those measures mean. Okay. And all families got a letter informing them of the change in report cards. It was also reiterated at back to school night and at elementary conferences last week. And again, this is going to go out in December. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Soriani. Anyone else for a committee report? Okay, seeing no one, we'll move on to letters for the board. One LET is an email to the Board of Ed dated November 1st, 2019, from Deanna Aponte inquiring about volunteer hours available to meet her requirements for obtaining her master's degree in education. This was referred to executive session. 2 LET was an email to the board dating November 11th from Tanish McGriff Schumann concerning a recent email regarding a school threat, and Dr. Mast has met with the parent. 3 LET, an email to the board dated November 12th, 2019, from Stacy Levine concerning a recent email regarding a school threat.
I did reach out to Mrs. Levine to set up a meeting.
Thank you, Dr. Mast. Since I have you here, Dr. Mast, why don't we go into the superintendent's report?
Excellent. So I would like to move that the Board of Education approve the following out-of-district placement and revised out-of-district placement for the 2019-2020 school year. We have an out-of-district placement for First Children, and we have a revised out-of-district placement for the Phoenix Center.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Okay, so this is Mr. Murray and Mrs. Williams? No.
Brody.
Mrs. Brody, excuse me. Any question or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries.
I would like to move that the Board of Education affirms the superintendent's decisions in the 1 October HIB case and that we reported in our executive session on October 29th.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Soriani. Mr. Murray, any question or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any abstaining? Any noes? Motion carries.
I would like to move that the Board of Education approves the following field trip request for the 1920 school year. The 7th grade from Terrell Middle School would like to travel to Steinmark Theater in Watchung to view the movie Harriet to coincide with the study of Harriet Tubman, the abolitionist movement, and to understand the difference that a single person can make in the world.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Winkler. We have a second?
Second.
Who seconded?
I
Mrs. Brody, thank you. Any question or discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries.
I would like to move that the Board of Education approves the Curriculum Committee recommendation of adding the following new high school course to the curriculum, the environmental science at the academic level that we heard earlier from the Curriculum Committee, and we will vote on that at the next meeting.
Okay.
So moved. Oh, at the next meeting.
Thank you, Dr. Mass. Dr. Miss, would you do the personnel agenda?
I'd love to. I would like to move that the Board of Education approves the superintendent's recommendations for personnel on the personnel report dated November 14th.
So moved. Second.
Who moved it?
Me.
Ms. Brody, Mrs. Winkler. Any question or discussion? Okay, Mrs. Saradaki, will you please call the roll?
Mrs. Brody?
Yes.
Mrs. Winkler?
Yes.
Mrs. Bauer?
Yes.
Mrs. Boroff?
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mrs. Suriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Dr. Kulikowski?
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Mast.
You're welcome.
Mrs. Saradaki, would you cover the business functions?
Yes, and we have a new order to the business functions. The ones we'll be voting on are listed first, so I'd like to cover those. 1BUS, I'd like the board to accept the audit as presented by Nisavachia and Company, LLP, excuse me, in Randolph, New Jersey, in the 2018-2019 Auditor's Management Report. 2BUS, I'd like the board to approve the superintendent's recommendations for staff training reimbursements on the report dated November 14th, 2019. And 3BUS, I'd like the board to approve the swing education contract for additional services for substitute teachers and substitute aides at the current substitute pay rate plus an additional 25% service fee. The swing education services are supplemental to the current district substitutes.
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Winkler. We have a
Second.
second. Mrs. Bauer, any questions or discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries.
Thank you. And then the items I'll be asking for at our next meeting next week, 4BUS, the budget assumptions and guidelines, which the Finance Committee will be reviewing on Monday evening. 5BUS, related services through private vendors, and that is EDU healthcare in the amount of $18,000. 6BUS, the facilities agreement with Behavior Therapy Associates, and that's for our the High Step program, which uses Kohl's each summer, and that'll be for the agreement that we would present to them for the summer of 2020. 7BUS, the Union County Ed Services agreements for non-public security aid, and these are purchases for security purchases for St. Bartholomew Academy and JCC of Central New Jersey. 8BUS, it's a proposal from Potter Architects for handling the plans and bidding process and construction oversight also for the Brunner Elementary School gym. And the total cost of his proposal is $68,700. 9BUS is that the Board of Education would like to bid out the sale of 1,020 Dell 3120 Chromebooks. And 10BUS, I'll ask for the board to acknowledge receipt of the district school security and fire drill reports for October 2019. 11BUS, I'll be asking for the board to acknowledge receipt of the disbursement listings for the month of October 2019. 12BUS, I'll ask for the board to acknowledge receipt of the board secretary report, treasurer of school fund report, and budget adjustments for October 2019. And 13BUS, I'll be asking for the approval of the bill list.
Thank you, Mrs. Saradaki.
You're welcome.
Okay, any board policies?
At this time.
Thank you, Mrs. Winkler. Any new board business? No new board business. Okay. Other board business, any requests to attend workshops? Any workshop reports? Mrs. Winkler?
I have a report. It's not exactly a workshop, but last night Union County School Boards Association had a meeting, and the topic of the meeting was hints on improving our effectiveness as board members, and it was presented by Ray Pinney. And It was a good session, I thought. Besides, it began. But the meeting started, they introduced Mike McClure, who is the president of the New Jersey School Boards Association, who got up and talked a little bit about the task force report on mental health that they released in October, recently. He said that he is setting up an ad hoc standing committee for mental health, which will meet about 4 times a year, roughly. That any board members from around the state who are interested are welcome to join and be part of that committee. I guess reach out to him for further information. Karen Cordolino, who is the New Jersey School Boards Association Vice President for Legislation and Resolutions, talked a little bit about new board member training that's coming up soon, encouraged any newly elected board members to attend. She also said that on November 23rd is the next delegate assembly, going to be at Mercer County Community College, and New Jersey Senate President Steve Sweeney will be speaking there. And she encouraged board members to create relationships with their elected officials at the state level. And then, let's see, but anyway, Ray came out and talked about ways to improve effectiveness as board members. He suggested that in order to be an effective and cohesive team, have a look at what you're doing to foster teamwork. In order to be an effective board member, you need to develop leadership and team building skills. How to get items on the agenda. He talked about during the new business portion of the meeting. You can mention things to the superintendent or the Board of Ed president because they set the agenda typically prior to a meeting. How to start new board members in a positive manner by creating collaborative, inclusive norms for the board. That sitting down, having existing board members and or the president of the board, the superintendent, sit down and get to know new board members as they come on, what they expect, and explain to them how things go. Let's see. He suggested that it's better not to post political things on social media. I think most of us on the board know that there are ethics violations that could come up with that. Of course, we all have our own First Amendment rights, but we should be cautious about what we post. He said it was really important to have a district presence in social media, so that the parents want to come to the district social media to get information first instead of deferring to the whoever's the loudest person on the local pages to get their information. He said, don't be behind the 8 ball, and that the districts should be putting out information that is accurate and transparent. What else? Again, another warning about the code of ethics violations with Facebook posts. He said, as board members, we don't have authority, but as individuals, we don't have authority. But that in order to be effective, it's all about relationships, and that we should focus on building professional relationships, having informal conversations so that we get to know each other and can work better together, attend workshop, the annual workshop and the monthly county meetings, build trust, have patience. It takes time. Don't let it get personal. It needs to be about the kids. What else? Be knowledgeable, be honest, be positive, show empathy, and warm body language. Don't make things personal. That it's not, can I do something, but should I do something? And to ask, what actions have I taken to foster a better board team?
And I was also there with Amy, as was our new board member, Karen Mitchell, so it was nice to have her there so she could hear all of this. And she has embraced everything right away and selected some of her new committee choices at this time as well. So I think we're doing a good job, and you're doing great for having joined us at this point in time.
Thank you. Happy to be there.
Also at the meeting last night, they had the handout about the governmental relations update and some of the healthcare reforms that they're going to talk about and the new educational related laws. And then there was a notice for the program coming up on December 2nd, regional information programs for new and not so new board members. Southern region, they're all meeting on December 2nd. There's a southern, a northern, and a central. I think Parsippany might be the closer one for us, Baldwin Road and Parsippany, but there is one at the Mercer County Technical School and one at Hamilton High in Hamilton. So if anybody's interested, I do have that handout for you. Karen, did you want to add anything about last night's meeting?
I want to reiterate with what Ms. Winkler said about the can I say something or should I say something. I think that was a great overall theme for last night, and especially as a unified board, as I'm learning how all of it works. I think that's a really good go-to with all of the information that we were approached and with all of the great things going on in the district and things that we all need to talk about. Can I and should I? So that was really one very strong takeaway from the night.
Thank you, Karen. Any other reports or workshop issues? Mrs. Bauer?
I have a report from the Garden State Coalition for Schools. Just to remind the public, we're members of the Garden State Coalition of Schools, which is a group of over 90 school districts who work collaboratively together, lobby Trenton to try and avoid additional mandates, especially unfunded ones, to the school district, and have input into legislation and so forth. And one of the things that they are doing that's new this year is having what they're calling a thought leader series. So I think everybody on the board is receiving the emails, and last night they had an event, and they're going to be having a series of them this year. Perhaps we can volunteer to host one here in Scotch Plains. And so the speaker was, and I don't usually hawk books here at the board meeting, but I'm going to, was Dr. Catherine Steiner Adair. You may have heard her, like I have, on NPR or other places, being interviewed and a lot of her books reviewed. She was, ironically, I have my notes on the phone, and you'll know why I say ironically in just a minute. But this book that I'm going to tell you about was a top 10 bestseller for the Wall Street Journal in 2013. But it's still very appropriate, and it's called The Big Disconnect. And it's Catherine Steiner Adair. If you want to order it on Amazon, it's only $10.83. So it is all about the digital world we live in and how we as adults and parents should be coping with or thinking about coping with. So she started off with a number of questions, and I won't have you raise your hand, although she did have people raise their hands last night to ask how many people have taken their phone to the bathroom with them. And if people are, sleeping with someone, when they roll over in the morning, do they roll over to the person to say good morning, or do they roll over to check their phone first? So there were a series of different kinds of questions like that, but really talking about, she's from Harvard, from the medical school, and really talking about the impact on the brain and the development and the way children think. And really that different parts of the brains are being developed than when we were growing up. You'll see how interesting the chapters are. One says, the brilliant baby brain, no apps or upgrades needed. But really very actually serious effects on the brain. And it also talks about how our devices are like, we often refer to them ourselves as addictions, right? and we need a fix, and so on and so forth. One of her colleagues referred to it as chocolate for the brain. Something that's, again, very, very hard to give up. But I do want to say that I think what is especially important to think about are, because she spent the afternoon with students at this middle school, and then it was adults in the evening. So talking to students about how they feel about digital devices, their use of them, and the use of digital devices in their families. So there's apparently just a few other takeaways. There's a group called Wait Till 8, and that's something she was really pushing, not to have your students have devices until 8th grade. And then she was talking about different kinds of apps that are filters. One of them's called Circle, so that you can monitor what your children are doing. And talking, sharing some of the feedback of students who talk about how their parents are always on their devices, even when they go to the beach, wherever they go, their parents are on their devices, or they try to talk to them, and the adults say, "Just a minute, I'll be with you, just 1 minute." And so the feedback from the students was very interesting, and she had a number of suggestions about, like having places where you put phones so that they never come into the dining room, or that you put them all in the closet in the master bedroom at night, or you have a family media policy. So just a lot of different food for thought. So I'll leave that with you. But it was a very interesting evening, and everyone's welcome to future thought leader sessions as well.
Well, thank you, Mrs. Bauer. Anyone else?
Yeah, I attended a meeting today with the ministerium with representatives from churches and synagogues and in town, and they were sharing this one flyer that speaks to the Healing Project, how to disagree, maintaining personal and community relationships. So it's short notice, but it sounds like an interesting topic. It's an interactive seminar, free and open to the public. And it takes place this Sunday, November 17th, from 2:30 to 5. It takes place at the Holy Trinity Church in Westfield on First Street. So I have a couple extra of those flyers if people are interested. I also attended last week the Truth, Racial Healing, and Transformation meetings over at Shady Rest, and I've attended a number of these meetings soon. Stephanie will be joining me. The work that this group is doing is in combination with the Township of Fanwood, the Township of Scotch Plains, and the school district. And at our last meeting, what we were speaking to is how important it is that as a community we come together with respect and have conversations both across races, ethnicities, and generations, so that we better understand each other's perspective. And they are going to be inviting board members and students and faculty and the police to participate in these conversations. So we really have a more cohesive community across the board. So I think that's something that we're really looking forward to. And another meeting that I attended was yesterday at the high school. A group of students met, the Black Student Union and the No Place for Hate group at the high school. I was able to listen to the dialogue of the students. I didn't participate, but I listened very carefully. And the students had great insights and suggestions on topics such as curriculum recommendations, things that they would like to see in our social studies curriculum. They would like to have a voice in certain topics that are covered For a long time, Ms. Bauer has been suggesting that we have students participate in these type of efforts. And so I thought that was a very good idea. Also, these groups of students are visiting classes. They're going to be visiting all ninth grade classes with presentations that are on broader topics, but my general umbrella that I took away from that meeting was about respect, that we need to really be able to see things from each other's perspectives in a spirit of kindness and understanding. And, you know, I couldn't be prouder of the courage that I heard in that room yesterday. And I could see it's the beginning of a journey of work and conversation that we have to do together.
Well, thank you, Dr. Mass.
You're welcome. Superintendent's coffee. Were you going to mention that? For good.
I was going to mention that.
Okay.
So at our next meeting, we will be approving the minutes from October 10th, October 17th, both open agenda and the executive session, October 29th, regular board meeting and executive session. In accordance with the Scotch Plains Fanwood Public Schools Bylaw 0164-0165, the meeting will be open for 15 minutes for public comments, maximum of 3 minutes per speaker. Speakers addressing the superintendent items, business functions, and other board business would be heard first. If time remains, speakers may address all other matters. At this time, if you approach the podium, please state your name, your address, and the town in which you reside.
My name's April. I'm from Fanwood, New Jersey.
Can you give your whole name, please?
April Walsh.
Thank you, April.
My name is Zanaya McDonald. I'm from Scotch Plains.
Can you say your name again?
Zanaya McDonald.
Zanaya with a Z. Thank you. Thank you.
And we're here to demand action and education against racism at SPFHS. We will not stand for racist comments, posts, and cartoons.
Can you just speak a little closer into the mic?
Mike's on.
You want me to start over?
Just get closer to it.
I don't know if it's on. Let me check.
Oh. It's not on? And that's why I can't hear you.
There you go.
There we go. Thank you, Evan.
Okay. So, we are here to demand action and education against racism at SPFHS. We will not stand for racist comments, posts, and cartoon depictions of black people in order to dehumanize and demean us. What is going to be done? I want to see action at SPFHS, like currently and now, because if we don't have action soon, people are going to think it's fine to continue doing these things to us, and we don't want to be walked on anymore. Tons of students want to have an assembly. We want to open up. We want to be able to say how we feel. That's all.
Thank you.
My name is Patricia McDowell. I'm from Scotch Plains. I do have a student that attends a high school, and I too am here to speak up and to demand some kind of action. I did, in fact, speak to you, Dr. Mast, and what I'm looking for is for some kind of action to be taken. Are we planning to address the student population? I do understand that there wasn't a gun threat. However, we have to address the racial issue. How these students may be feeling. I think the principal has to bring the students together, and if the district is not equipped to deal with these racial tension, you have to bring outsiders that have experience with this to talk to these students. I think if we wash it under the rug, what's going to happen, it's going to sit there and fester, and we may have serious issues to deal with in the long run. So I'm waiting to hear what is being planned to address these students in the short term.
Thank you, Ms. McDowell. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kimberly Nix, and I live in Roselle. I attended this school in 1978. I was on the marching band, so I'm really proud of them. But we made a commercial, Samsonite commercial. But I'm here. Hopefully, after this, I will still be able to have a job here with as the co-advisor to the Black Student Union. Tuesday, I saw pain that I hadn't seen in 40 years. And that 40 years was 1977, 78, when we had a sit-in, the Black Student Union, because we demanded some things here, and they were not met by Dr. Terry Regal. And I saw pain in those children's faces Tuesday that I hadn't seen in 40 years. And I said, I feel sorry for you because nothing is being done. Nothing was done then until we sat in. We had to sit in the office. After 40 years, you mean to tell me this is still going on? But now it's so blatant because of social media that it's a black face with a Confederate flag, and you've got kids here being called the N-word all day, every day. And I told him, if you allow that to happen, you will be walked over every day, all day. And I am here. I don't know if I'm going to be hired or not after this, but I would do this because I'm passionate about the Black Student Union, because I went through what those children went through 40 years ago. And I keep saying that, 40 years. Come on. When are you going to wake up and do something? It is not fair that these children here have to go through something that I went through, because I would not have tolerated, and nobody in the Black Student Union would have tolerated somebody doing a black face in front of a Confederate flag. It just wasn't that. Now it's just so blatant. You got to look at his parents. What are his parents doing? What are his parents saying about this? And then yesterday, I understand you can't say too many things because of too many things, certain things. But it's not fair. These kids are demanding an assembly. And I think that they deserve an assembly. If you get the 9th graders in, the 10th graders, you get them all in, I think something is going to be a productive thing, not I don't know. I'm just so passionate about this. This is just too much for me to see after 40 years. Same thing. And I don't know. I'm going to pray that each and every one of you decide tonight to do something. Because tomorrow we may not wake up. You got to do something for these kids. They're scared to come to school. Why should black children be scared to come to school? Their parents brought them from inner city places. Some of them have lived here all their lives, and now they got to do this? This is crazy. I would have never thought after 40 years that this was still going on in Scotch Plains. But I see it is. Because it's an image that wants to be portrayed, that we're a good town. And trust me, I lived here for 50 years before I moved. And I want to come back to Scotch Plains because I know this is a good town. But come on, you got to help these children. You've got to. And help those who don't know any better. Help their parents that don't know any better. So I'm gonna ask you, please do something for these children. Do something tonight. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Good evening. I'm Joyce McDonald. I'm coming as I live in Scotch Plains. I am a parent of a student who has been victimized. The racial slurs constantly every day has been brought to the administration's attention at the high school. They have attempted to deal with it, but the issue has been skirted over. And so I see mental, physical, emotional stress and trauma. And it's not only my child, but there are other children as well. So in order for them to move forward and to become whole individuals, and in order for the society and the community to be whole, something needs to be done. And I think we are tiptoeing around and denying and afraid to confront and head on face the racial issue. You can't tiptoe around it because, and what I tell my children, it's a large world, and when you leave here, you face it here. They need to know how to cope with it to move out there. They should not have to go through that. So for the adults and administration to find other ways to camouflage it, they'll change schedules, they'll move students without directly confronting the individuals who are involved is not correct. So we come tonight to let you know that's what's happening in the high school, and it's dangerous.
Thank you for your comment. Is there anybody else that wishes to address the board at this time? Seeing no one, I'm going to close that portion of the meeting. Moving on to remarks for the good of the order. Anybody have any remarks? Well, I do. On Wednesday, we had the Meet the New Superintendent. So we met Joan Mast at Terrell Middle School at 10 o'clock in the morning in the Media Center. We had myself, Mrs. Winkler, Mrs. Soriani were present, as well as Robin Broadbent was there. Regina Gannon from PTA Council and Jen Power from Terrell Middle School PTA, who provided the refreshment for us. Dr. Holloway and Mr. Geraci joined us, and we had 20 or so parents that were there, gave good comments, good suggestions, good food for thought. And it was nice to come out on such a cold day, and we were lucky to get some extra parents in there because I think they were also there for parent conferences at Terrell Middle School. So it was nice to get to meet our new superintendent.
It was nice to be met.
Comment.
Mrs. Winkler.
I'd like to just take a moment for us all to recognize the veterans within our community, as Veterans Day just passed. And I think that it was a little overshadowed this year by some of the chaos that went on at the beginning of the week. And so I just wanted to note that.
Thank you, Mrs. Winkler. That's a good idea. Thank you. Mr. Murray?
So just a couple of updates. Our youth 5th and 6th grade PAL football teams are both in the Spfboe this weekend. So 9 a.m. Foley Field in Bloomfield. Our 5th graders are playing, and then our 6th graders play after that. So it's exciting for that. I think we have a historic first time in school history girls soccer final for the states on Saturday at 12:30 at Kane University. So we're asking everybody to come out to support that. But I just think overall, if you look at the recognition this evening with the unprecedented number of students in the band and all of the other sports teams for the fall programs, it's been a really successful fall for the school. I think from that regard, as far as new students coming out, the numbers continue to grow across multiple sport athletes, as well as in the arts programs with the band and color guard and everything else. So I just think it's just a nice continuing upward trajectory for the that part of the academia for the students.
Thank you, Mr. Murray. Mrs. Bauer?
I wanted to do two things, but one, I wanted to thank the students in particular, April and Vanaya, for coming to share your thoughts and concerns with us this evening. I know it's not easy, but to get up and come speak in a public forum, but it'll be very useful moving forward for you to continue to do that kind of thing. So thank you for coming. And I also wanted to thank Mrs. Saradaki. We were in the other room. We didn't really have microphones to be able to comment on the hard work of our BA and the wonderful audit report, and to thank her office for all the hard work and no recommendations. And I think it's phenomenal, and it reflects just a tremendous amount of work. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Bauer. Thank you, Mrs. Sarah. Anyone else with remarks for the good of the order? Okay, seeing no one, our next meeting will be Thursday, November 21st, be our regular public board meeting in this building. There will be no open agenda meeting in December, only the December 19th regular public meeting. So at this time, can I please have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Thank you, Mr. Evans. Mr. Murray. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Meeting adjourned.
Douglas.
I always feel like I should say that too.
That's why